Whew. It's hot in here. Hello? What is that I am hearing? Hello? Oh, it's the stream. Hi. I can What is that I am hearing? Hello?
Me?
Oh, it's the stream. Hi. I can What is that I am hearing? Hello?
Me?
Oh, it's the stream. Hi. I can What is that I am hearing? Okay. I don't know why things are doubling up for me. Okay. I don't know why things are doubling up for me. Okay. I don't know why things are doubling and repeating and repeating and repeating. That's gotta stop. I don't know why things are doubling and repeating and repeating and repeating. That's gotta stop. All right.
Test.
Hello. I hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
I can. I'm gonna have to unmute the stream and make sure everybody else can hear you. I can. Go ahead and say something. Barney? What happened? I lost you.
Wait a second. Hold on.
What happened? I lost you.
Wait a second. Hold on.
Okay. Looks like you can be heard in the stream.
Can you hear me?
Yes?
Okay. I'm just going to leave it where it is then. I'm not going to touch a thing. I'm in the settings, and obviously it's working for some reason.
Okay.
So I'll leave it where it is. I don't know why it's being weird.
I don't know.
So can the stream hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
So we are. Oh, well, we might want to share.
Oh, by the way, the website. Yeah, I've already shared, and the website looks
Okay.
amazing.
Oh, good.
I
I'm
did
glad
take
you
a
like
look.
it.
Yes, I did. I enjoyed it. I looked at it. It was very nice. Pardon me.
Our
Sorry.
SEO has some improvements. Norm said he might want some more content to put in to do stuff with, which I am asking what he recommends. He's a pro, so he can
Okay.
really help. But I did get a site like we are on Stitcher properly and Spotify and stuff that we were not on. It wasn't
Okay.
working right before. Like there was listings there, but they didn't have our logo, and it was two listings, which was really weird. Um, and Stitcher just sucks anyway. I don't even care. Like I did take the sign up through Stitcher off our website because
Isn't Stitcher where they basically take our recording and then put it on, and basically take it from us and then put it onto their website so we don't actually get the hit per se? Isn't that how Stitcher works?
well, I don't know. You can get stats from Stitcher, but it doesn't really. They monetize content though. Like they sell ads and they stick them in your show, and they're
And
not
where
really good at picking up the shows all the time. Like I know a couple of shows have just quit sending anything to them because they get all these complaints about like where's the new episode, because it will just randomly not put them on there, which sucks. But
Well,
the
if they're
monetizing other people's content pisses me off.
yeah, if they're going to monetize it, at least give us some of the money for it. Jesus.
Exactly.
It's like, yeah, that'd be nice. We're having to pay for the RSS feed and all that kind of stuff. You could at least pay a little bit of money. I mean, okay, I know we're a small podcast, but come on, people, you go monetize us, All right, all right, but we're still on Apple too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Apple picks us up, and that I'll check some stuff there too to see if there's anything I can improve. As far as, because I did all that recently. Apple a couple of months ago had this whole changing how they do everything in podcasts, so I had to update all that stuff then.
Well, the problem with a lot of podcasts these days now is a lot of bigger name celebrities are getting into the podcast field, and it's just like all us little guys are just like, okay, really? It's like John Straczynski when he did that Good News thing. I was like, okay, that's great and all, and then he sells it, and I'm going, well, that doesn't make me like him anymore. I'm just like, wow,
they have
that's
a built-in audience. They can use what they have.
I know it's just, I know it's the capitalist society and all that kind of stuff, but it sucks a lot of air, especially people that's been doing this for a long time, struggling, trying to make it work, and then suddenly these big names are like, hey, I'm stuck at home for the next 3 months. Let me start a podcast. And I'm going, and my middle fingers just go up, and I just start to dance. And I'm going,
space. We made this space. It's okay.
Yeah.
Why is Twitch not wanting to let me in? Hello?
Because Twitch is owned by Amazon, and obviously I've not ordered enough crap from Amazon during the plague, so they're mad at me. I mean, I have before I started, I had 5 ebooks. I now have 1, 2, 3. I have 5 ebooks, and I also have dungeon craft tiles, both sets. All right, I don't even have a game, and I have this. So I'm like, what do you people want from me? It's what more? I own dice. I haven't bought dice in years. It's almost as bad as starting Magic again, and I refuse. I refuse to do Magic again. Like, I have a limitation. and cardboard crack is it.
Okay.
I'll do the. All right, are we ready?
We are ready. If we are, one thing I want to tell you, because I have not done yet. If we're gonna continue with the show,
okay.
My Stream Deck is back online. I've got that all updated,
okay.
So I can put that "I Kick Ass for the Lord" sound in.
Okay.
The thing is, it works in a way that you wouldn't be able to hear it through Discord.
Okay, so you would have to.
The stream could hear it.
The stream could hear it.
The stream could hear it, and it'll be in the recording, so that it's less editing for me later.
Okay.
So the only thing we'd have to do then is
figure out where to put it
at the top of the show.
Mm-hmm.
No, what it would be is we would start with that, but then because you can't hear it,
right.
I would have to do the first quote.
Right.
Because I know when to come in, because I'll be able to hear it. You know what I mean?
Right, I understand. So I'll adjust. The only reason I do that is because I'm the first one to do the intro, so we may have to switch the intro thing, and that's fine.
No, we don't have to switch the intro, I don't think.
It's just weird that I do the quote and then do the intro. That's the only reason
I mean. Okay.
Yeah. So that's if I do the last quote and then do the intro, that's we'll figure it out. But yeah.
I mean, I don't have to do it. I could just keep sticking it in later.
No. That's I didn't know you were doing that in the podcast form. Maybe I should actually be willing to listen to my own voice long enough to hear the podcast.
Yeah, I put that at the beginning, and I put the Diamond Club bumper at the end.
Oh, okay. So there's no So, because I know initially you would have me stop for 5 seconds to do the Diamond Club thing.
Right, because I had it in my stream deck and I was pushing the button and it was working the way I just explained that it
Okay.
works.
Right.
So you would have to be quiet so you could hear it.
Right.
But doing that at the beginning has the trickiness of
Right.
you can't hear when it ends, and because you're not on video, I can't just point to you.
That should be fixed. The video part probably won't be fixed for 4 weeks, but maybe it depends on what I can do in the next 2. Because I got to do one other thing. I was looking at microphones, and I'm just like, the Yetis are okay. They're in a price range that are okay, but they really look like more of a setup for a desktop versus a laptop. And I'm like, so I may end up getting headsets and just getting a really nice pair of headphones and doing it that way. And I'll have to do some investigating and seeing what works best. I would prefer the mic set with the bet guard thingy, but that would mean investing in a desktop and getting a setup where I can do that and be hardwired in. So I don't have that right now. So that's going to take a little more effort, but that'll be fine.
All right.
Oh, well, that would probably help if I put my microphone down to my mouth.
That's a lot louder.
Yeah, that's what the problem was. Hold on.
Hold on, let me.
No, I adjusted. Is that better? Hello? Is this better?
Yeah.
Is this
okay. A little. You could be a little louder.
A little louder. Let me put maybe 70. How's that? How's this? How's this? How's this?
Little louder.
Okay. 75. 75 going once.
75 should be about right. That's what Linda and Ray end up using.
75 going once? Okay. All right.
I figured nice in the yellow and not hitting the red unless you start yelling.
Well, this is social contract. How upset can I be?
Well, and being that the mask mandate came down today, that's going to fit in really well.
You're kidding me. Did it pass or fail?
Cooper announced it. Although individual counties are having to enact it, apparently. Yeah. Right now, North Carolina, we are not moving to phase 3 on Friday. We're staying in phase 2, safer at home. You're supposed to stay 6 feet away from anyone that is not in your immediate household.
Okay.
Which I made sure to remind Rob of because he's going to visit his friend today. And you have to wear masks in public everywhere.
Okay. I will keep that in mind then. I did not know that because I have been... we can talk once we're off.
Oh, I'm ready when you are.
All right.
And I want to stick as close to 8 as possible. I understand we're starting a little late and going a little late, but there's somebody who wants to see me and I have to go take her a mask.
I understand. That's fine. All right. Count of 2. I'm sorry. Count of 3, 2, 1. This is what the Lord says. Do what is just and right. Rescue from the hands of his oppressors and the ones who have robbed. Do not wrong or violence to the aliens, the fatherless or the widows, and do not shed innocent blood in his place. Jeremiah 22:3.
The social contract is primarily an inquiry into the legitimacy of power. Albert Camus, The Rebel. Let's talk about the social contract.
Welcome to Heresy and Hearsay, a podcast to reclaim faith in the context of political discussion. I'm Reverend Barney, and you can follow me on Twitter at SethRothII, and you can follow the show on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or any podcast catcher. Just look for Heresy and Hearsay. Please like, share, subscribe, follow us. Also, give us a review. That helps others find us. And as always, to help me today, my personal social contract, Ember.
Hi there, I'm September, and you can follow me on Twitch and Twitter at 9of12, and you can hear me on the Geek Grills podcast. Heresy and Hearsay has a Patreon site that you can find at patreon.com/heresyandhearsay. Please go there and help support us. Just $2 a month goes a long way to help us make this humble show. You can contribute with bits in Twitch or subscribe for free if you have Amazon Prime.
So the impetus of this show, what caused me to think that maybe we should have a discussion of what is the social contract, is I was watching. September had posted this, but I it's on my YouTube stuff subscriptions as well, and I hadn't got to it. But September had posted it first on her Facebook page about John Oliver talking about the riots. Not riots, I apologize, the protests and the riots. And at the end, he says, "Look, I've done enough talking. I think this woman says it the best." And then he played a video clip of this black woman, who basically was saying, "I don't care about Target, and I don't. They can burn to the fucking ground. You guys broke the social contract, you know, when you started killing us in the street." So, you know, I was thinking, yeah, that makes sense. We should talk about the social contract, what it means, what it represents, what the philosophy of the social contract started out as, and what it's supposed to do, and what it's failing at. So I think that's what I wanted to have this discussion about.
That is
Um,
a fantastic, fantastic video. I will link it on our website in our show notes. Kimberly Jones was cleaning up the streets during the demonstrations after George Floyd was killed. And her analogy using Monopoly to explain the social contract and how it has been broken. Like, black folks can't take advantage. Like, we all start with our bank full.
right.
and and they don't get any money, and they just have to work on your property. It's a really fantastic analogy and worth watching.
And it's also, it's not just that. It's not just that they don't have any money, but a lot of them start in jail,
Mm-hmm.
as far as, because of, crimes or perceived crimes that has happened to them in youth. And they're tried as adults, as teenagers or whatever, and they're stuck. And at that point, that follows them. That's one of those things that was discussed, and we can get into that later. But it was one of those things that was discussed in the Obama thing, was getting rid of that part of the job applications. Was, were you ever convicted of a felony, kind of thing. Because I mean, if that is a check mark, yes, 99.9% of employers just throw that in the garbage at that point.
Yep. And that's a very like hardcore discrimination, and that's something that we just passed laws in North Carolina about. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, they're gonna start wiping convictions after a certain number of years with no charges.
Well, that's as because here's and
Jeff
that's a
Jackson
good.
posted all about it a few days ago, and it was like a unanimously passed by our legislature.
Wait,
Unanimously passed this piece of law so that it end
okay,
punishment after years and years and years. And there was a really neat personal story that was included of this woman who she got convicted of some like minor weird bullshit law
hmm
many years ago, and then it costs money to get your record wiped. Like, even if
it,
charges are thrown out,
right.
right? It stays on your record, and people can look that up. I have this problem because I was once charged with something. Even though charges were dropped, if the police pull a report, it shows that I had been charged with this crime, and it does say it was dropped. But still, that's, have you ever been charged with a felony? Yes. And it get thrown away, and then anybody looking to rent to you, employ
hmm
you, can just look up that information doing a simple background check. Well, now they've changed it, and I think it's 7 years with no other charges or convictions, and they're going to automatically remove that from the system. It'll still be there in like a second level, like a judge or something could see it so that they could take it into account sentencing you for a crime thereafter.
Right.
But that initial background check stuff, it's going to be wiped from there. It's going to be wiped from public record, which is, I mean, just fantastic. I was starting to say, sorry, this woman had been charged with something, and then she went to law school. But because in North Carolina, if you've ever had a felony conviction, you can't practice law. She has been completely unable to take the bar exam and work in the field. And because it was long enough ago and she's never had any other charges, this law is going to open that door for her.
And that's a big deal. I mean, think about it. You're 19, 20, and say you do something stupid. You get in a bar fight and you get an assault charge on you. Or let's say you get some pot caught on you. That's a felony. Okay, you get pot caught on you and everything else, and it's the only felony, but it's still a felony. It stays with you forever, and that just sucks, and I think especially non-violent drug crimes really should not have that kind of penalty to begin with, to be perfectly honest, and that's a whole nother matter. But yeah, I mean, and that's a part of the social contract is that how can she here's the thing, when you look at what I'm kind of looking at is, if you look at the preamble of the Declaration of Independence, one of the things it talks about is we have these inalienable rights as human beings, that we have the right to pursue happiness, that we have the right, and how can you pursue happiness if you have this force that's not allowing you to do this? So let's back up a little, because we kind of jumped.
Yeah, we got all excited and started talking, but we should define the social contract for those people that don't know.
So the social contract basically is, in a nutshell, that as a society, we agree that we are going to give up some of our freedom, some of our liberties, to be ruled by either monarchy or whatever, for the inclusion and safety of all of us. Now, the debate goes on how much of our liberties and should we be willing to give up to give for that protection. And that's one of the reasons for the founding fathers having this discussion and everything else, is to make sure that, because that is the discussion, is how much of your freedom should you give up for that security of the government can provide, of a central government can provide. But as part of that security that the government provide, it's not just like, we're going to make sure that you didn't get murdered, because that's part of it, but it's also to make sure that you have the ability to do certain things, the ability to earn money, the ability to be healthy, the ability to do things that, to accrue property or whatever. It's the ability to be a human being and to be safe in the knowledge that you can pursue these certain goals that every human strives for, to have a safe place to live, to have a family, all these kind of things. That's what the social contract is what is the liberties you give up is to secure yourself in the fact that you're able to pursue this life, and that the government is going to protect you from that. Is that about right?
Yeah. I like the definition I pulled from the one article I had posted, as like, it's the view that a person's moral and or political obligations are dependent upon the contract or agreement among them to form the society in which they live. So I'd like to give like a very simple example of this. Is the social contract is something that is implied about you will engage, we all engage in certain behaviors and agree that this is the moral thing to do. we obey stop signs because it benefits all of our safety to follow these instructions. And, people are like, just to be ignore them is against the law. And we all contribute to, taxes to pay people to keep laws and to punish people who break that contract because they are endangering other people.
Right.
Like we
And
obey traffic laws. That's part
right.
of the social contract. Um,
Correct.
Something that maybe isn't law. Well, I think a good example we have right now is it's been going on in a lot of other states and just started in North Carolina is the mask mandate. And people are all, ooh, my freedom, my freedom. You can't do that. Governor Cooper can go to hell. That's the law impinging on my rights. Your rights don't go past your face. It's your body, but we're talking about like in a pandemic situation. If you're going to be part of society and go engage with other people, it would be it would behoove everyone, like, for you obey the social contract of I will do what I can to keep you safe. And people can't abide by that, and so they have to pass a law. And that's kind of a shame. Like, if people were better, we wouldn't need a lot of the laws we have. If people just had a stronger sense of morality in the form of social contract.
Somebody said this and to me once, or I've heard it multiple times, and and it becomes, wow, that's so. A person is intelligent. People in groups are stupid. The more people no, I mean, it
Yeah.
becomes the more you get more people, the more stupid they get, because it becomes a mob mentality at that point. Case in point, I remember, and here's the, talking about society and social contracts and everything else. And what happens if you remove people from that social contract? There's a book of fiction that has, to this day, struck me very hard as so when I was in high school, my sophomore year, we had to read these two books, and they were about the internal of manhood. Okay, is man innately good or is it innately evil? And I don't remember what the first book was, or the second book, but I remember what the book about innately evil was, and that was The Lord of the Flies. And I was the only one that wrote in belief that men were innately evil. And it's kind of shaped my world philosophy to the detriment of most people because I'm very pessimistic about things. It's like, but I mean, but the thing is like September. Last time we went to the grocery store, how many people were wearing masks?
Mm, uh, well, actually, that was today, and the mandate just came down, so it was actually most of them. But
Okay,
a few days ago, it was
right.
about a third.
Okay, so the last time I went to the grocery store, it was maybe 10%.
Yeah, it really depends what store I have found.
It does. I will admit to that as well. Unfortunately, but it is like, but on the same thing, it's. We have a social contract that we're supposed to treat each other well and equal, and we don't. There's a. I don't know if you've seen this video going around about that Mississippi grandmother. Have you seen that one?
um, I don't think so.
Okay, so she's sitting in the back of a pickup truck because of course she is, and she's holding a rebel flag over her shoulder, like it's a a cape or whatever, and she's screaming at this person, "I'm going to teach my grandchildren to hate and be racist because that's the way it needs to be." And what do you do in the social contract situation like that? Should that woman be able to see those children? You know, as a social contract, we're looking at what I want to expand on. We've talked, this is what the social contract is supposed to protect people. All right. So this woman is obviously a racist and obviously a danger to society in some forms. She's teaching hatred. She's teaching racism. Should people that are like that lose their children as part of the social contract?
Um, that's.
We're
I'd have to
okay.
spend some time thinking about that.
Because I'll give you an example. There was a case several years ago, and I need to look it up, and I'll put it in our notes before you post it onto the website. By the way, side note, September and a friend of hers has done an excellent job revamping our website, and you people really should check it out. It's amazing. It looks great. It's very easy to navigate now. You can also see our bios and all this kind of stuff. So, but there was a case, I want to say maybe 5-10 years ago, you might have heard of this, where this man goes into a Walmart, I do believe, and asks for a birthday cake to be made for his son and it to read Happy Birthday Adolf Hitler. They had named his son Adolf Hitler, whatever their last name was. This got to the police and got to DSS, and they lost custody of their child, at least at that moment. I don't know if they still lost custody, but there was a concern and there was an uproar about that. And so, but on the same thing, they were neo Nazis. They were teaching hate. They named their son Adolf Hitler, and he
Mm-hmm.
was like 4. That child was not going to have a good life to begin with. I mean, it's bad enough when you name your child Luke Skywalker. All right. Look, geeks, I love you all. Name your pets. Do not name your children. I know a young
You're
lady who.
talking to somebody who my eldest middle name is freaking Nightshade. I mean, come on. There's
And
got to
Kevin
be
Smith
some freedom there.
and Kevin Smith named his daughter Harley Danger Quinn because her middle name is Danger.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
My friend Leah, her daughter's name is Harlan after Harley.
and Harlan's fine. People wouldn't catch on. I'm just it can be problematic, is what I'm saying. But there are points where you go.
I think as long as it's not outright hateful.
Well, true.
You know what I mean? Like the Adolf Hitler is a kind of a standout case of, yeah, maybe you should not let a being that cannot give consent
to be
be
named
named
after
that
to
after
be named
a
somebody who
genocidal
could
maniac.
could commit a genocide. It's like, hey, this is my son Adolf Hitler and his brother Joseph Stalin, and Pol Pot is their sister. I'm just like, wow, you should not have children and or name of them. I'm like, why didn't the hospital step in at that point? And at that point, the hospital would be like, you know what?
I don't know. Maybe they
But
haven't
yeah,
birthed.
oh, okay. Well, this was in Alabama. It's possible.
Oh, great. So
Anyways,
the kid probably wasn't vaccinated either.
no,
Sorry.
no. The vaccination problem that comes from Southern California, dear.
But that's
Just
another example of social contract that
right.
should be applied. I feel like anti-vaxxers, excuse me, are not obeying the social contract in a moral way. I mean, I have concerns about being exposed to stuff in general because I have autoimmune disease. and protecting people who, I have a friend who's going through cancer treatments, and their immune system is shot, and they can die from stuff you're carrying around just because you feel like it, because you don't believe science, you believe crazy conspiracy theorists that there's all kinds of stuff in it, or I don't know, whatever.
Well,
That Bill
and
Gates is putting a chip in your body. Yeah, whatever. Stop.
yeah, okay.
And I have a dear friend who's anti-vax, and it makes me want to pull my hair out sometimes. And
Well,
she lives on like rainbow farms. She travels around in a trailer with small children around the country, place to place, living at these, commune type places, and doesn't vaccinate. And I'm
lose it.
horrified, and I worry. I mean, I worry about her children,
Hmm.
but I worry about everyone they might be exposing to things that are preventable.
Well, I had heard that that a group of them did like a measles party where if someone got measles, they would all get together with their kids so that they could get measles. So that's vaccination. It's just worse. That's what a vaccination does. Only it's worse.
Well,
You
when I
know,
was little, they didn't have chickenpox vaccine,
me neither.
and I think my parents did the, all right, everybody, take a bath.
And
Somebody got it,
cornstarch.
so we all get it now. No, no, like
Oh, oh,
throw all the kids in the tub so everybody just gets chickenpox and you can get it over with.
oh no, my parents didn't do that. They had but my brother was also an infant at the time, so that's probably why.
Yeah,
So yeah,
but I
but
mean, it's
yeah,
not generally life threatening, but man, it can mess you up. And of course, we didn't, I think, realize then either that once you've got varicella in you, then you can get shingles.
yeah,
I'm
thanks.
worried about that's going to happen with COVID, but that's another discussion for another day.
Yeah,
But
I should have.
so that's another, having to make a law
Yeah,
so that people get vaccinated. Like, well, your kid can't go to school here unless they're vaccinated because this is part of the social contract that we have decided to enforce.
right. And so the reason there's that social contract, and the reason why we have that reason is twofold. One is that there are certain people that can't get vaccinated. So if a greater majority of people are vaccinated around them, then it's less likely that that disease will get to that person that can't be vaccinated. One, and two, it eradicates diseases. No, there's no more smallpox because of the smallpox vaccination.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have a smallpox mark on one of my arms. I can't remember which one because I was one of the last ones to get one because we were traveling overseas at the time when I was an infant, and so we all got smallpox vaccinations.
And people don't
But yeah,
realize things. I think, especially in this country, I think it's a very privileged attitude to be anti-vax, um, because we don't know anyone anymore who has died from or is crippled by polio.
right.
And, like, folks in India look at us like, what the fuck are you doing? Because polio is still fairly common there, and they
Mm.
know people who have suffered from this thing that we managed to completely eliminate in our country until people quit vaccinating.
And yeah, and now they're starting to get polio again, and polio
It's like we could have
fucks you up.
eradicated it, just like the
Yeah,
pox.
yeah. Polio fucks you up. It
Yeah.
makes you unable to walk.
I
Is
wish FDR had been taking a stand on that. Oh, wow, that's phrasing. Oh, no.
wow,
Instead of
wow.
instead of hiding that he couldn't walk, because of
Right.
polio, like, I think that was a huge miss opportunity in leadership.
Yeah. Well, he had to remain strong. That's one of the things about presidents is they need to show strength, and I think that's one of the it's that machismo thing that we still have with presidents. I think that will be broken once we finally get a female president. I think a lot of that would be broken in a lot of ways. But I think that's a big thing. I mean, that's why do you think Trump has went on for? I know this is an off-topic thing, but why do you think Trump has went on for so long about being about walking down the ramp and about not being able to drink water with one hand? Oh my God, let it go. Anyways, because it's a machismo thing. But no, I agree. If he had been more vocal about the fact, like, look, I'm in a wheelchair because I have polio or I got polio and this is why I'm in a wheelchair, and we need to do stuff about it. We need to make this better. I think you're right. I think that would have made a big difference. But again, there's that social norms of a man not being able to be fit to be something if he can't stand.
Mm-hmm.
So,
But
but
it's still a missed opportunity, right?
it is, it is. It's an extremely missed opportunity. It is. I mean, but we have a social contract, and part of the social contract is that our police doesn't kill us in the middle of the street for
Right?
passing off a $20 bill.
Yeah.
You know that he probably here's the thing: if you get a counterfeit bill, 9 times out of 10, you don't know you have a counterfeit bill. Now you'll be asked a lot of questions. It's like, where did you get it? I went to the ATM and it spit it out. It's like, or I went to this shop and they gave me this change and this is where it came from. And then they would go to that shop and they was like, did you give change to the? It's like, yeah. And it's like, well, where did you get this from? It's like, well, I got it from, I don't. And
Right.
then they would have, but you don't murder someone over a $20 bill counterfeit, especially if it's the only one he had on him. You
Mm-hmm.
need to ask him some questions first. I mean, that's the social contract, and that's what's being broken, and that's what's being continued to be broken. The social contract started to be broken well before George Floyd. And I'm not just talking about the police brutality. I'm, even the slavery thing. If we let's say that after the Civil War, that the social contract then extended to all black people. Okay. At that point, we broke the social contract as soon as the first Jim Crow law was passed. As soon as Grant allowed Union troops to be pulled away from the South so that they could retake, because when they got when the slaves outnumbered white people by vast majorities in a lot of places, and a lot of states suddenly had large amounts of large amounts of, I'm sorry, I keep saying African American. Um I just watched uncomfortable discussions of the black man. And one of the things and it was the Matthew McConaughey episode, and he's talking about one of the questions Matthew asked was, you know, should we call you black or African American? And he's like, black, because not all of us associate ourselves from Africa, and not all of us, our origins are African.
Mm-hmm.
So we are black. And I'm like, so I'm having to break that PC. And I'm going,
Yeah.
wow, this is a lot harder than I expected, because I had ingrained myself into that PC so hard. So it's like learning someone is trans and you're trying to relearn all of that from that individual.
Mm-hmm.
So forgive me, my black friends, and I am sorry. I'm working on that. Um,
Yeah, I'm liking the acronym. I don't know if people say BIPOC, because I just see it typed everywhere, but the BIPOC.
what's BIPOC mean?
It's Black, Indigenous, and People of Color.
Oh,
I
okay.
found that my daughter was using it, and so I looked it up. And
Uh,
that's
ver-
kind of
versus
very
POC.
inclusive. Because then, because people say black and brown people. Well, I mean, that kind of works too. But I've been comfortable using black instead of African American for a very long time. My girlfriend Tony, her family origins are Haitian, not African, and
Right.
she never was comfortable with African American. She called me on it right away. But I've also known black folks, so like it's almost, you can't just keep apologizing all the time. You can just ask the people you're near what they want. The
Right.
black is pretty more acceptable. Like there was a lash against it for a while, but I think it was all white people doing it.
Yeah.
But except Miss Hayes, one of my son's teachers, she didn't like to use black, but she was very ingrained in her was the lighter skin, darker skin in the black community. There's that whole status thing that's left
Right.
over from slave times, and stuff like that, and good hair. And she was trying to untrain or train children to not use those terms, and so she liked to use brown.
Okay.
And she had us buy culturally appropriate, colored pencils for them to color people of color different tones. And I had a very long talk with her because I and this could very easily relate to social contract. Like, it changes sometimes for whatever reasons as we learn and evolve. Our culture learns and evolves, and admits wrongdoing to other races. But I had a long talk with her because we were in the grocery store and my son was with me, and he was like, "Oh, look at the brown lady." And that woman looked at me like death, daggers in her eyes. Because, I mean, from her point of view, like, oh my God, her kid never seen a black person. And, like, she judged me so hard, and as if Brown was like bad or something because he just didn't say. If he'd have said black woman, it would have been a different thing. So I had a long, long talk with Jackie, but I was like, here's the detriment. Because as a white woman, this lady looked at me like, holy shit, what's wrong with you? And I had had that experience before where my son was like, didn't take a cookie from somebody in the park one time, and this guy was like, "Oh, it's okay," and he's showing him his hands. He's like, "I'm just like you. I'm just a different color." I'm like, I have a black roommate. It's not that you're black, and we're just those white people or something. And he's not scared of you because you're black. He's scared of you because you're a stranger. But I felt bad later because I got kind of snippy with the guy. But it was perfectly logical for him to make that assumption because
Yeah.
there are probably more Karens out there teaching their kids that black people are scary.
Yeah. Well, there was talking about social contracts and things when we were growing up, and if you thought about the movies and stuff, we watched was like, scary black gangs in the streets and stuff. I mean, think about like Death Wish is one of those movies that you thought about, scary black gangs or scary Latino gangs and stuff like that. And you know what? That has shifted as far as my social contract thinking or my fear thinking. I am no longer afraid of black people or people of color in general. I am afraid of the white guy and his wife at the mall.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid they're going to go off well before anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my day job is I work customer service over the phone, which I'm grateful for, because if they were in my face doing what they did over the phone, I probably wouldn't work customer service long, and I wouldn't be doing this podcast either. I'm just saying. But it's like, the amount, and I deal with a lot of different people of a lot of different ethnic cultures, and the ones that I get on blast about, it's not, at least once a day, I'm called the F word. I have a bit of a slur when I speak, and I know that. I'm called the F word at least once a day. Of course, they hang up right afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But whatever. I get screamed at every day, and it's mostly people of my skin color, because they're entitled. Because the social contract tells them that if they scream yell enough, and if they ask for the manager, they're going to get what they want. Because in the social contract of business, the customer is always right, or at least that's
Right.
what they've been told.
And the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And yeah.
And the person who came up with that phrase, I want to find who they were, go back in time, have a long talk with them, preferably with a lead pipe in my hand. Because that the customer is always right is not ever the case.
Have you watched the movie on Netflix, 13th?
I don't have Netflix.
Okay. So I would recommend 13th to everyone out there, and it's very interesting. And you brought up earlier, like the Jones video about comparing the social contract with black folks being broken to monopoly, and that's a great video. 13th is a tracing of how our entire country broke that contract
Mm.
with people of color. Uh, with the 13th Amendment. Everybody thinks the 13th Amendment is that's the end of slavery and it was this great thing, except for the way they worded it, and what happened since then is how we broke this. Um, Section 1 of the 13th Amendment says neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as a punishment for a crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. So all people remember about the 13th Amendment is it ended slavery and involuntary servitude. They forget that's except as a crime. And it traces the history of how they criminalize black folks to keep them as slaves and to keep them working for free. And this is how whole whole law enforcement agencies and the prison system has grown and grown and grown as they have basically used that little clause of, keeping people down and keeping people as slaves and keeping people working for nothing. I mean, to this day, people prison labor is used for a huge variety of things. There are major companies that I think Victoria's Secret was one that finally stopped having their stuff made by prisoners, getting little to no pay for years and years, and it goes on to this day.
It does. They do a lot of customer service stuff. Not, not.
And
They
that's
do.
involuntary servitude.
It is, and they
But
get
it's
like
okay because the law is if you committed a crime, you can be a slave to the state.
Joe Arpaio did that to perfection, and his quote unquote tent city,
Mm-hmm.
and all of that stuff. He was a son of a bitch. I've got no, and I'm sorry. I know that is derogatory to women. I apologize. I can't think of a better term. I really can't. He was just the worst as far as, but he epitomizes law enforcement. I honestly think if you want to hold up what a law enforcement, what a sheriff, what law enforcement is, you just look at him. He is always controversial, always, because he would always do stuff like that. And you said little to no pay. Most of them do get like a couple of cents on the hour. They get time off of their um, sentences, whatever. He wouldn't even do that. There was no such thing as canteen, none of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so he would use them for slave labor. He would put them in prisons for stupidest offenses. And he had that power because he was a sheriff. And sheriffs have an extremely lot of more power than they should. And that's that whole defund the police part, but that's another story. Um
Yeah, that's although it does fit with defunding the police and redefining that as we are changing the social contract to work for society better. I think is definitely a discussion that's out there and worth looking into instead of people panicking and saying, oh, don't go to this business because they don't support police, or somebody who owns it said defund them. Like, seriously look at the actual places where they're starting to do this and sending, oh, I don't know, a social worker to a social work call instead of an armed peacekeeper.
Yeah.
It's talking about putting that funding into. It's a very basic change in our social contract, but people, because they're afraid of whatever violent robbers that they've never experienced, or maybe you have, and there's a situation where you need a police officer, they panic at the idea of not being able to make that call. But statistically, that's not what most of the calls are to the police.
No, it's mostly like domestic dispute or domestic cases or things of
Oh,
that nature.
or any other number of stupid shit like
Yeah,
people call for. Like, my cat is on the roof, or my neighbors, like a noise complaint.
you don't send an armed policeman for that.
You really don't need to, but that's who
No.
goes.
Yeah.
So,
And that can escalate quickly because they've got a weapon at that point. And at that point,
exactly.
my father taught me years ago about weapons. My father was very big in the NRA until he realized that they were just until they shifted to being a shill for the Republican Party, and then he had a lifetime membership. He paid for it, and he said, "I cancel my lifetime membership. Never call me again because of that." But he was very pro gun and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things he taught both me and my brother is like, if you pick up a gun and you point it at a human being, that means you are intent to shoot them. So think what you're going to do before you do that.
Yeah, our local sheriff's department actually made a post, I think yesterday, clarifying, because people were like citing a law that's on the books about not going masked in public when you have intent to, harm or rob or whatever. Like, it's a weirdly phrased law. And so for some reason it was concealed carry permit people in particular that were citing that law and saying, oh no, I'm not going to wear a mask, it's against the law. And the police were like, no, actually, you're fine. You're not wearing it to go rob someone just because you happen to have a weapon. It doesn't, like, imply that intent. You're not going to arrest for wearing a damn mask to protect the public health. If you have any other questions, let us know about your concealed carry permit. Like, it's an unfortunate Venn diagram that crosses way too much, that the people who are carrying the guns are against masks and about their freedom. Like, that's kind of unnerving to me. And a friend of mine pointed out, like, how about, and it was a friend of mine from another country, like, how about y'all wear something to protect people instead of being so concerned about wearing something that is designed to kill people?
Well, yeah, that's
Like,
that's
if you
another.
had to choose one or the other, why in the hell is it that important to you to have your gun everywhere you go?
Why? Here's I have a speaking of social contracts and everything else. We want our children to be safe in schools. We do. Why is it important to have a armed officer in a school when 90% of it is just breaking up teenagers having fights?
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, I was a teenager. I saw plenty of fights. My favorite one was when the vice principal tried to break up two young ladies having a fight. They turned on him, kicked him out of the fight, and then went on at each other. It's like,
Oh boy.
and the guys who were around were going, "Fool, just let them go when they're done. Don't get
Round them up
involved
when
in."
they're done.
Just let them go. They will turn on you to kick your head. But yeah, no, I mean, why is there not a social worker? Why is there more cops in our schools than there are guidance
Oh yeah,
counselors?
they defund things like having school psychologists and nurses, so they can fund a, what do they call them? Uh,
Resource officers.
Resource officers. Yeah, maybe not the best use of that money.
There
All
was,
right, so
yeah, we need to wrap this up. But
mhm.
this is a discussion we'll probably have to come back to, circle around to. So let's do this. So our carrot and stick. Would you like to do the carrot and I'll do the stick? How's that sound?
Sure. So the carrot goes to K-pop fans. We talked about activism in our last episode. You can find it on our website. And boy, Zoomers got it down. K-pop fandom has been engaging in viral digital activism. So, and it's not just K-pop fans. I do want to say that. Like, I know people who were doing this, like reserving tickets to Trump's Tulsa rally. And the Tulsa rally, if you don't know, is a heinously offensive thing to be doing anyway. Is one of the worst massacres of black people in U.S. history in Tulsa, and he decides to have a rally there on Juneteenth. Um, so yeah, K-pop fans, they kind of spread the word, and Trump's team failed to catch what was going on, and they reserved so many tickets. And then that rally was very, very poorly attended because it was mostly these just on purpose no shows. They've been spamming racist hashtags. Um, what else did they do? But anyway, we'll post a story on our website. You can see everything that K-pop fans have been doing. It's crazy that it's them, because people don't think, this generation who just spends so much time online is into K-pop and anime and everything else and all these fandoms. Boy, they're using the internet for good.
Yeah, I mean, you can do that.
That's the
I
way to
want
make
to,
your voice heard.
yeah, I want to add a caveat to that. Just because there was a lot of that doesn't mean that it wasn't poorly going to be poor anyways, as far as people showing up. You have to keep in mind also that Trump's approval ratings are horrible. So he doesn't have as many fans to begin with. So it's just, but the K-pop fans made it seem like he was going to have a whole bunch of people, and then very few people showed up to begin with. I just wanted to be that there was that contrast so much that, because they trumpeted, oh, we have 1 million people that want to be there or whatever.
Hmm.
And yeah, and so I wanted to make that contrast that it made them look ridiculous, and that was
My
good.
favorite meme about it is because the stadium seats were blue. And
Yeah.
it was like the blue seats matter. This is empty, empty space.
So the stick goes to the killers of Breonna Taylor because they're still out, not been arrested. For those who don't know, basically they were serving a warrant at this household. They went in and she was asleep, and they basically shot her while she was coming. It was being woken up suddenly and everything, and she comes out and sudden and everything, and they just shoot her. And one of the officers is currently fired. The other two are still working for the police department, and all three of them are still not in jail.
Hmm.
And there needs to be justice for her, and her name still needs to be trending on Twitter until that is resolved, because that is an injustice that needs to be taken care of. That is a horrible injustice, and I'm tired of seeing injustice in this world.
Yeah. I mean, at least they fired one of them.
Yeah, that's not even close to good enough. I'll be perfectly
Yeah.
honest.
Well, that's why we need to end qualified immunity.
Yes, that is
If
true.
you get dismissed for something that's a crime, get charged with the damn crime.
Yeah.
That's part of the social contract. You don't, like, some people get to go ahead and kill people. No. No,
No.
no, no. That needs to stop.
Yes. That. Yeah. So, with that being said, thank you for joining us at Heresy and Hearsay. I'm Reverend Barney. You can follow me on Twitter at SethRothII. You can follow the show on our website, which is newly and revamped, brand new, bing, bing.
Thanks,
You
Norm.
can, you can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also subscribe and listen to us at any podcast catcher that you would like to. We've made sure that that's been corrected. please support us by visiting our Patreon page. We're $2 a day, $2 a month, $2 a day. Wow, I felt like I was in NPR for a second. $2 a month will really help this show keep going.
And I'm September. You can follow me on Twitch and Twitter at 9of12. That's NINEOF12. And you can hear me on the Geek Grills podcast. Remember to subscribe to my channel at twitch.tv/9of12, where you can also support us with your subscriptions and your bits. Thanks for listening today, and bless your hearts. Central. I'm going to raid Central Committee.
Okay. Do we have people?
We do. We have like 5 still.
Yay! Thank you, listeners.
Yeah, we got up a little over that for a while. Raid. Is it gonna work? Yes. Excellent. So I will raid that, then stop the stream. That says 1 viewer. I had 5, and now it's 1. People must have left while we were doing our outro. Oh well. Alright, I'll stop the stream.